This chapter directly continues from the previous chapter. Please ensure you follow the web series chronologically. All the links will be provided in the description below. Thank you. The House of Kuru, Part 1, Chapter 20. The Great Sacrifice of Durvasa. The Yadava king Shurasena had two children. One was Vasudeva and the second was Pritha. Pritha was a girl of great beauty. Even at birth, Pritha looked like a true princess. Her eyes twinkled like the morning star as the sun rose. Not only was she of dazzling beauty, she was also endowed with exceptional virtue. The king Shurasena had a cousin called Kunti Bhoja, who was childless, and Shurasena loved him dearly. So, Shurasena allowed his cousin to adopt Pritha, and she became known as Kunti, the daughter of Kunti Bhoja. In time, she grew into a beautiful maiden of great repute. She was known for her chastity, virtue, and patience. Even at a young age, she had tremendous devotion to the great god Mahavishnu and used to ensure his worship was completed daily with arduous perfection. It just so happened that the seer named Durvasa was in the city and had to perform a tremendous sacrifice for the welfare of the world. In order to complete this, he needed the assistance of all the servants within the palace of Kunti Bhoja. The king Kunti Bhoja, in an effort to please the capricious sage, offered his own daughter Kunti to oversee the sacrifice and to assist the sage in all manner to ensure the completion of the sacrifice. He called Kunti to his bedchamber and said, "Kunti, my dearest daughter, the great sage Durvasa, who is an incarnation of Lord Rudra, the god of death and destruction himself, has requested my efforts for the completion of a complex ritual to the gods. I have, in an attempt to appease him, offered to serve him during his performance of the sacrifice. Will you help me meet my words?" he asked her with imploring eyes. In truth, Kunti Bhoja was afraid of Durvasa. Everyone in the land was afraid of him. Durvasa was known to have quite a temper, and when he curses, his curses tend to take immediate effect. Fearing his wrath, he thought to send Kunti, a young girl, instead. Kunti joined both her palms, bowed low to her father, and said, "I will ensure the sacrifice of Durvasa is a successful one." "You have my word, father," said the gentle maiden, much to Kunti Bhoja's delight, and walked away from his bedchambers. In due time, the great sage Durvasa arrived, and Kunti Bhoja spared no expense in greeting him. The streets were covered with garlands, food was given to the poor, and wealth was spread across the land. He didn't dare to look like a tyrant in front of the sage Durvasa. Durvasa was met with 100 horses tethered to several chariots. Everyone in the city came out to greet the great incarnate of Lord Rudra. The aristocrats gave him gold coins, jewels. Some even gave him silken clothes embroidered in gold. He ignored them completely. A lowly peasant offered him a small robe made of cheap deerskin. Durvasa took it with great delight. It was not too heavy, but not too light for him to perform his austerities. You see, Janamejaya, men of stringent vows and tremendous austerities shy away from lavish luxuries, artifacts, and delight in simplicity, said Vaishampayana. Oh my! The great god incarnate Rudra himself has walked on the earth of my ancestors, asked Janamejaya. Janamejaya sat as if in a trance as his chief preceptor was retelling the tale of his ancestors. The tale of his house. Please, mighty preceptor, please continue. I desire to learn what happens to Kunti in this sacrifice, said the king Janamejaya. Of course, your majesty. Let me continue, said Vaishampayana. The sacrifice began and Kunti was perfectly tuned to the needs of the great sage Durvasa. She had memorized the entire workflow within the first day of the sacrifice, so that the following day she kept everything ready. The sacrificial butter was churned and clarified by heating it in a low flame. She gathered the food for the altar. She bought fodder for the altar, bought the twigs and bundles of sticks for the kindling. She took pains to ensure that all the students and the disciples of the sage Durvasa were well fed and catered to. Durvasa was by no means an easy host to entertain. He would call Kunti in the middle of the night for food, have temper tantrums, and get furious if the food was either too hot or too cold. Yet Kunti managed all of this expectations with spectacular expertise, patience, and perseverance. All this, and she had barely reached the age of 16. The sacrifice of Durvasa went for 11 days, and on the 11th day, Durvasa was delighted. He was stunned by Kunti's devotion and sincerity to his cause. On the 12th day, he called Kunti to his chambers. Dear lass, I am very, very impressed with your devotion to my cause. Because of you, this sacrifice was a triumphant success, said Durvasa. Kunti joined both her palms and bowed deeply. Dear sage, your will is my command. The success is well and truly thanks to your brilliance and astute knowledge of the Veda, said Kunti, rather bashfully. Now, modesty is another trait one can add to your list of famed attributes, Durvasa said as he was truly pleased. This was another aspect of Durvasa. Once pleased, he can give powerful boons by the virtue of his penance and austerities. Kunti was well aware of his ability to bestow boons, but she had no desire for them. She was doing as instructed by her father. Speak, daughter of Kunti Bhoja. Speak what you desire, and I shall make it possible, said the mighty sage Durvasa. I have no desire but to please you, my sage, said Kunti with folded palms. Durvasa was now overjoyed. Another talent Durvasa had was his ability to see through time. Using this talent, he decided on a boon to bestow upon Kunti. He clapped his hands and said, My dear lass, you are too young to understand the might and prowess of my boons. As such, I bequeath you one with my own understanding. All women desire for great children who give rise to great progeny. Therefore, I will tell you a secret spell, a mantra. This spell will command the gods to bestow you a child from their seed. You will have a virgin birth, and the child will be born through your might. Take this boon of mine, O great daughter of Kunti Bhoja, said the sage, and, as always, Kunti bowed low with folded palms as the sage whispered a secret mantra into her ears. The second she heard it, she memorized it. She was a brilliant maiden with an amazing memory. She memorized the entire mantra, omitting only the section which commanded the deity. Thank you, mighty sage. Your kindness knows no bounds, said the witty girl. Now remember, Kunti, this is a very powerful and potent incantation. It can command any deity to appear before you, and once it does, it will bestow a child onto you. So use this wisely, warned the sage. Kunti nodded swiftly and repeatedly. Having said that, the sage began packing his things to commence leaving for the next city.